Welcome to the Ska History Hour with your hosts, Jose Rojas
Oh,
and myself, Daryl Rubio, wherein the purpose of this channel is to spread awareness of ska music and its subgenres to the world. Our guest today is Curtis Meacham of Monkey.
woo.
Curtis, we appreciate the time that you're taking to speak with us and to share your stories and your music to the ska community. Can you please tell us what your position is in the band, please?
I sing and write music and tell terrible jokes.
Which one do you do best, though?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to.
Okay, so I see your band started around 1995. Am I wrong?
90, well, our official start is 96, even though we kind of started in 95. So we're we started practicing in the summer of 95. We did a like a 4 or 5 song set at a Christmas party at a skinhead Christmas party in Campbell. Campbell. Uh, no, what's the little town next to Campbell? It'll hit me, but it's all the same area, and and we played that little party, and then we played a little tiny record store right after New Year's, and then we played a New View night, which we consider our first gig, and then we went from the New View night almost directly to playing the Edge, which was like a 1,500 person, facility, opening up for Skank and Pickle.
Oh, good band to
Oh,
open up for.
nice.
Campbell is where Punch the Clown's out of, right?
No, Punch Clown was from Petaluma.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Which there was one of those bands that was from.
What's the second singer for Rancid came from Campbell. So he mentions Campbell in a bunch of songs.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Campbell's just a a suburban community in the Bay Area.
Are you talking about that guy from the UK Subs that joined
Mm,
them? What's his name?
no, Lars.
Lars, yeah.
Yeah,
Lars
Lars is
Ferguson.
yeah, Lars is from Campbell, from the Campbell
Got
area.
it. Awesome. So your band plays, you guys are out of the San Jose area, is that right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Can you describe your band's sound, please?
Well, we started off as a traditional ska band that had Latin leanings. And then we just kind of went like everywhere from there. So we've tried to stay away from anything that is younger than two-tone as an influence. So there's a lot of like pre-punk and garage and blues and rock and Latin and ska and reggae and rock steady, kind of all just in a big soup.
That's a good fusion there.
Absolutely. It's fun.
Now, I'd like to ask if any of the band members were in the high school band.
I think Brian was definitely in high school band. I don't know if Micah was. Uh, I was not in band proper, but I took a couple of band classes, a couple of music courses, and played a little bit in the church my parents had me in.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, yeah, and believe it or
Yeah.
not, I started out like okay, so I'll divulge you quickly in a little story here. I wanted my most like the biggest fan experience I had when I was like 10 years old was Louis Armstrong. I thought Louis Armstrong was the best music I'd ever heard in my life, and it still is. It's still amazing stuff. And I really wanted to play Louis Armstrong music, and I was in, I think, maybe grade school or junior high. And I told my teacher that I wanted to join the class, join the band class, and play trumpet because I wanted to be Louis Armstrong. And she said,
Nice.
She looked at me and said, "No, no, 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 honey, you're not going to play trumpet. Your lips are too big." Right? And
Oh, wow.
and so she gave me a saxophone. Now she said this because she needed a saxophone player, right? She didn't need a
Oh,
trumpet player.
yeah.
So she was trying to like get me away from the trumpet because I found out later when I worked at a music store that all the parents want to start the kids out on trumpet because the kids like it because it's loud and it's very small
Mm.
comparatively. It's not like a giant saxophone or a giant trombone or tuba, right?
Right.
So it makes it very easy on the parent. The parents like not a lot of things to break. It's small. Just give them the yeah, just leave that down there. Just gonna leave leave the small device in the hands of the kid, and maybe we'll make it out without him destroying it. So
Yeah.
that's how parents think. So
Mhm.
I was told to play saxophone. I hated it. Uh, I did. I played it a little bit. Like my parents wouldn't let me play it at home, so I would go across the street to the park and play it at the park. And then,
Wow.
and I think it lasted like maybe 3 or 4 months, and I gave the saxophone back. I said, "This is not for me."
Mm,
And then with my church, I tried to play trombone, and they weren't patient enough to teach me anything at the church because they just wanted someone that played, right? And
mm,
so I had a friend that kept trying to teach me how to play guitar, and I was like, I don't want to play guitar. I don't want to play guitar. And then he taught me the opening, like, I don't know, 12 notes of Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah. I was waiting for that. I knew it.
Ding dong dong ding dong dong. And I'm all,
And
I'm
you were
rad.
hooked.
I'm rad. Look at this. I'm awesome.
You play anything after that.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So that was my experience, my youth experience with music.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. That's cool.
I could hear that from the what you said about parents. My daughter started off trying to play cello, and we had to lug that thing everywhere. It was ridiculous. And my
Hmm.
son tried to learn accordion. It's like that
Oh,
thing's monstrous and it's heavy as fuck.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Start him out on concertina first.
yeah. So
So it's still
I'm one of
like
those
40
parents.
bucks.
But I can relate to you in regards to the whole the trumpet thing. Your lips are too big because in elementary school they had a like a school music thing come to school and they teach us all the different instruments. And so
Uh,
I wanted drums so bad. I wanted drums so bad. And they said, okay, let's see how you hold it and if you could tap it like that.
yeah.
And they said, nope. The first time I did it, nope, sorry, can't do it. Deflated. I was deflated after that.
Yeah.
And I can never, it's I don't know if that went in the back of my head because I've tried guitar, I've tried bass, I've tried sax. I can't play a piano. I can't play shit. So I think it was because of her.
Well, I tell people, I meet people all the time that are like, I'm 40 and I never learned an instrument. I'm 60 and I never learned an instrument. I said, if you bring me over to your house, I will teach you the fundamentals. It'll take me 20 minutes and you will know more than most people do after they finish like seasons of music
Right.
because they bury kids in a mire of like I don't know, like they try to like come at it at abstract and mathematic angles, right? It's
Mhm.
this and then the opposing minor is blah 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 blah. And it's like if you're playing guitar, it's right there in front of you. If you're playing keyboards, it's right there in front of you. It's
Mhm.
literally objective. It's square, triangle, square. It's so easy to learn that I feel bad for anyone who's been pushed out of it because of some other person who had an agenda,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
it's just unfortunate. So I tell everybody, like, hey, give me 20 minutes and then you can go away and learn at your own pace once you know everything. But it's music is not that hard. It's not that hard, especially if you're just playing like bluesy rock, ska, reggae, so, 2 chord, 3 chord stuff. It's very simple to get into, and the rest of it is just training your muscles, really.
Mhm.
You got
Mhm.
to put out one of those guitar fundamental CDs or DVDs. Sell them
Absolutely.
for 19.95.
Except it would only be like 15 minutes long. So
Yeah.
people are like, 1995,
That's all
really?
you need. That's how
Really?
good you are.
That's like $1 a minute.
Okay.
So I already forgot whose question is it? Is it yours,
It's
Jose?
your turn, bro.
It's mine. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna go through some of your releases. So you guys have 7 full-length albums, I
Mhm,
believe. We've got a couple singles
mhm.
and that Cruel Tutelage EP that you did for Asian Man, I believe, right? But
Cool
a
Children
bunch of other. We'll get into
yeah.
the Asian Man thing a little later. But a bunch of other things like Lost at Sea that's up here too, and
Mm.
other ones. Um, how was it working with Asian Man? I'm sorry, with the legendary label like Asian Man and Mike Park with some of the releases you have.
Uh, yeah, Asian Man, like I really appreciate Mike taking the chance on us and letting us hang out on his label for a little bit. With that being said, and I'm at no point am I saying anything different than any of his acts that have ever worked with him would say. They say, "Oh, yeah, Mike, he signs you. It's a handshake deal, so there's nothing to actually sign. There's no actual, nothing's hidden. He just kind of pays you if he makes money. He doesn't pay you if he doesn't make money, and uh, he doesn't really promote you. You promote you." You
Mm-hmm.
are the artist, you promote yourself. And so he'll put you on a big roster of his releases for that month. And that's pretty much the most you'll get out of him.
Hmm.
And that was our experience. Now, with that said, he does have some particular acts that he like really loves, right? He really enjoys pushing them. Acts like, AFI made him a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So he's always, if AFI is in town or if one of the guys are in town, he's like, oh, you're going to play with me on a show and you're going to do this and we're going to be awesome together. So he does have his favorites. With us, we were friends. We were part of the local community and part of the greater ska community. And he asked me, "Hey, do you know of any bands that need to be signed or that are coming out that are young and like crazy and wanted to?" And I just started laughing at him. I just laughed, and he's like, What? Did I say something funny?" And I said, "Yeah, you said something incredibly funny. I've asked you every year since we started to put out one of our records, and you said no 100 times, and now you're calling me to ask me about another band." And he's like, "Do you have anything recorded right now?" I'm all, "Yeah, we have an entire album recorded." And he's like, "Bring it over." And that was how we got on, literally. So no, he's a cool dude. He's a legend. And I mean, part of the reason why I'm playing is, uh, you know, I was trying to like I grew up as a metal kid, right? And the first thing that broke my metal fascination was the Cure, right? And then the second thing was Skank and Pickle. So I'm hanging out I'm taking night classes at De Anza. I'm still in high school at the time, and I'm just kind of dabbling in night classes. And I stop in it's like 4 or 5 in the evening, and there's a band playing next to the cafeteria. And I go and I'm like, these guys are weird. And it was like the third show ever, something like that. And there was like nobody knew them. And I just sat there through the whole set, just, I need to talk to these guys. Like whatever they're doing is amazing.
Yeah.
And of course they got really big and I watched them the whole arc. And I was actually living with Jerry
Oh yeah.
when they broke
He's
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's a wild one.
Yeah.
We hung out with him in when he was in a MU 330. We hung out with him in Missouri when I was on tour with the Adjustments,
Yeah.
and he got us so fucking shit faced at this bar one night. It was crazy. I don't know how we stumbled back, but we walked there and then we stumbled back.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No,
yeah.
he is a great dude. I'll tell you one story about Jerry. So Jerry's living with us, and he says, "Hey, brother, I got a shipment coming. It's going to be kind of big. So if I'm not here, just like tell them to put it around back." I don't know what that means. Anyway, he gets the shipment, right? I didn't see what the shipment was, and then he's like, "Hey, come on back. It's here, man." And I'm like, "What's here?" And he's in the back. He's got a
Overalls.
He's no, he's wearing a wife beater t-shirt,
Oh,
an African pith helmet, right? And he's got an axe, and he's throwing the axe at this gigantic chunk of wood that he evidently purchased somewhere, called up somewhere, because this is before the internet. So he calls up somewhere in like Nebraska and says, "Hey, do you have a tree stump?" And they send him a tree stump with a stand to put the tree stump on. And he's got these axes. He's just hucking axes at the tree stump, drinking beer, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Right now, here's the weird thing. Like, you think, okay, that's pretty weird. Like, big, tall, white dude wearing a wife beater, pith helmet, throwing axes at a tree trunk in the middle of Silicon Valley. We live across the street from the college, and our fence has fallen down,
oh no.
and we're on the corner. So everyone stops at our corner, stops, looks to the side, and goes, "Ah," as they see this flipping axe coming at them because he's got the stump at the edge of the fence line, and he's hucking these
God.
things at the cars effectively. That was Jerry. That was living with Jerry.
God, he's a wild man. But that boy could sure play a trombone. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, where does the band name Monkey come from?
Uh, so, uh, so before I was in the band, a friend of mine was begging me to be in a ska band, and I said, "Look, I'm in another band. I was actually in a funk metal band. Horrible, horrible idea." So, but I was busy trying to patch this thing together because it was kind of falling apart rapidly. And my buddy was asking me to start a ska band with him, and I said, "No, no, no, I can't." And so I said, "But here, my buddy from high school will play. He plays bass, so he can play with you, right?" So I get them practicing, and I guess somewhere in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm probably going to have to leave the band that I'm in, so I might as well keep these, like, mentor these guys and keep them going. So meanwhile, they're hanging out, and I come over, and they said, "You still not interested?" And I'm like, "Nah." He says, "So, what would you name a ska band?" And I look on the shelf behind my buddy, and there's a one of those plastic jugs of the linking
Oh
monkey.
yeah, the barrel of monkeys.
Barrel Monkeys.
So I said, whatever, whatever, whatever you name it, it has to be simple. And I said, it has to be like monkey. And he says, "Well, uh, isn't there a band called the Monkees?" I said, "Yeah, but there's no band called Monkey, singular, spelled properly."
Yeah,
And, and he's like, "I don't know about that." And I'm all, "It's perfect because no one will ever steal it.
that's right.
Like, everyone's too afraid of calling themselves the Monkees or being
Yeah.
the Monkees, right?" So I had this great idea for the world before the internet. Now, after the internet, you can't find Monkey anywhere, right?
Mhm.
Put in Google, "I'm looking for the band Monkey," and you get 1,000 bands that are playing Monkey Man or have some other monkey part of their name. So it's really hard to find. So I kind of shot myself in the foot on that one.
Yeah.
Uh, but but I gave them the idea, and then they said, "Well, what should the logo be?" And I said, "The logo should be the monkey, right?
Your
The
original logo.
barrel of monkeys, right?" And I didn't draw that. Bassist Kevin drew that, and uh, and then by the time he had that concept down, you probably have it somewhere on there.
He probably does. I know, like, yeah.
So by the time Kevin had the concept down and had a really nice looking logo, I was like, "Yeah, I'm done with the other band. Like, I'm good. Let's do this thing. Let's get this thing going." So
Yeah.
we hired some friends and went through about 3 or 4 different drummers in a very, very short period of time, and then landed on a drummer we liked, and then he left the band, landed on another drummer we liked, and he turned out to be a little crazy, and then landed on Micah, and Micah's been there since. So the band's been together almost 30 years, and Michael's
Wow.
probably 28 years.
That is amazing. You
Yeah.
don't see that very often.
Hmm.
No, no,
Patience and persistence.
no. Well, patience and persistence. And this is what I actually tell people when they say, why is your band so, why is the longevity so good on your band? I said, because we owe money. We owe money, and I refuse to jerk someone around and keep their money. Like,
Exactly.
like I want to pay off the bills, and we still. I mean, here we are, 30 years later, and we haven't really paid off the bills. I mean, it's just the being in a band is like you earn $1,000 and then you spend $1,200, and then you earn $1,000 and you spend $1,500,
Hmm.
and then you earn $1,000 and you spend $1,800. And so over the course of the years, you paid back the initial whatever you paid, but you've accumulated a lot more debt. So, so I've always been like, well, I like the music enough to make it my goal to pay this back when I know it's never going to get paid.
Well, then you gotta charge Tim and April for your MC services then. MC services are not free.
Hey, Tim and April are great. I actually I stumbled into the MC thing with them. Basically, the first time we had played Supernova, there was no MC,
Mhm.
and I said, "Well, who's announcing the bands?"
Right,
Oh, we were supposed to have a guy, but he's not going to be able to show up till like 5. And I said, "Do you mind if I just get up there with a microphone? Someone's got to do it." He's
right.
like, "Yeah, just do it." I was like, "Okay." So I did it for the first time we played, and then the next time we weren't on the show, but I Tim gave me free tickets to go to the show, and I was like, "Hey, as long as I'm here, do you need any MC help?" And he's like, "Oh, please." We had a professional comedian, and he like, he shat the bed. He made some
Hmm.
joke and like pissed off everybody, and so he couldn't do they couldn't have him on the festival because it was like made fun of the trans community or something, and they were like, yeah, we can't do that, like it's too hot right now. So they ended up picking me, and just because I was there second time.
That wasn't last year, that was the year before, right?
That was the year before, and then we
Okay.
played last year.
Right.
uh,
That's
and
when Jose saw you. I was the year before,
yeah,
and saw you do the MC duties.
exactly. So last year we were officially hired on the roster, and Tim and April said, "Oh, we have a great package right now," and they came through, and they're really lovely people, and they were great. Um, um, uh, Two great members of the ska community, East Coast and West Coast, doing all the announcements. Um, and they were, I mean, they had a different energy. I was more like, yeah, get up, go, ah, and they were
Yeah.
like, all the way from Jamaica,
Yeah,
19
yeah, it wasn't a feel. Yeah, I was.
mellow, very, very almost studious in its intent. And I was like, hey, change it up.
A lot of the traditional ska shows down here, Junior Francis usually does.
Well, he was one of the announcers.
Yeah, yeah.
That was Junior Francis and oh God, what's her name? Oh, I'm gonna feel so bad if you don't remember her. She plays in the all girl ska band.
On Rude Girl Review.
Yeah, Root Beer Review.
Which
Uh,
one was it? It was it Lindsay? No.
no, no, no. Uh, I'll remember her name in a bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you know what? Yeah, I'm almost yeah. Yeah. We have them coming up next month or the month after. I forgot what it is.
Cool, cool.
So you Monkey just played this past weekend for Junior Skabosh Josh Coots' 45th birthday. What was that whole shindig like? Must have been a big party.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was fun, well attended, not sold out. And then I found out that that's the same weekend that the Grateful Dead did the reunion show at the Orb in
Oh.
Vegas. And it's like all my friends were like, I was in Vegas during your show, but I was so high. And I'm like, hey man, it happens. It
Yeah.
happens. Birthdays are unfortunately, right on top of some other event, and that's how
Hmm.
it is. But we played Josh's wedding, and we've known
Oh,
Josh for years. Years. Josh used to be a little kid that came out to our shows way
see,
back.
that's awesome. That's the best thing when you grow up and then you just in the community you just do everything. Um, yeah, so, something like that with I think there's we've got like super fans. There's a bunch of guys that are just super fans
Yeah.
of just ska, just will do a lot of things, and um, that's just great that someone grows up like that and is able to just love it and just share it with everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. I try to actually find kids that are excited about it and try to like get them into it. I'm like, well, if you're excited about it, why don't you do a show? Why don't you throw a show? I don't know how to. Well, here's a teen center. Like, there's got to
Mhm.
be someone to talk to. I'm sure it's not expensive. Oh, they want $200. I don't have $200. I'm all, I bet you can get some from an investor. Like
Yeah,
who? I'm all, well, I may have some money. These bands may have some money. They may be able to put down money to hold the house, and then you can pay them from the door deal.
right.
I never thought of that. That's what you got to start thinking about.
As you think outside the box as a promoter.
Yeah, exactly. So I've done that with a couple of young kids that grew up to be bigger experiences. I figure the way I look at music and a scene
Mhm.
is that if you're going to eat from the land, you got to be a good farmer. And part of the good farmer is you got to till the soil, you got to put the new seeds in, you got to give them enough water and enough love in order to make a good product.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
Yeah. Now, what goes into the process of creating a song? One of your songs.
Uh, that's a that's always a weird question because some people are um, every writer has a different writing approach. Now, with
Mhm.
Monkey, I have written a lot of the songs. Not all of the songs, but I've written a lot of them, and it's become with the band as it exists now. When we first started, there were people that were kind of like fighting for like, oh, I want to write a song, or like, oh, you're not listening to me, oh, you poo-pooed my idea, that's where everyone's kind of um, so energized but not focused. And now it's gotten to the point where I've I've been consistent over the years, and so the guys now just kind of look at me and they're like, "So what do you have? What do
Mhm.
you have?" They're like, "We don't have anything this month. Like, you've got to have something." I'm like, "Okay, I've got something." So, with that being said, there are long chunks of time when I felt like I couldn't write stuff. Right, I just didn't have an idea. Um, but with the concept of writing a song, it can come from anything. It can come from like I've written songs literally sitting in my car. Someone drives past me and I hear boom 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 and then I start writing a song based on a bass line that I heard rushing past my car,
Yeah,
right?
that's amazing.
Uh,
So I've had that experience. I've also had experiences where I'm like, I wrote down words and these need to, like, they're specific, they're perfect, they need to be in something. Um, but most of the time, I'll say that I'm like on drives, long drives. You're just sitting there kind of like tired of listening to the radio, and then you think about something that happened recently, and usually it's something kind of like negative or tragic, right? And you're kind of doting on it, and then you start kind of like humming and start like, oh, wait, there's something in there.
Mm.
You just keep cycling and cycling and cycling,
mm,
and you get to some place where you can write it down or like speak it into a phone or whatever and like capture that thought or idea, and it might turn into something and it might not. So you know just always be open to the concept of like what's happening around you, like what's happening in that car that zipped past, what happened on the street when you saw two people acting like buffoons on the street. Like, is that worthy of a song? Is that worthy of someone's art, right?
Right.
Um, Recently, we've been writing songs with a purpose, a specific purpose. So we've been writing songs that are protest songs for the era that we live in, right? But we don't want them to be so protesty and so specific that people 10 years from now are like, oh yeah, those guys, they wrote a whole bunch of stuff about Donald Trump. I'm like, no, 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 no. This guy is the worst we've ever seen, but he's
Hmm.
never going away. He'll be replaced by another guy just like him. So it's important that we write something that's a little bit like askew from uh, definitives, right? So what I did was we talked about the fact that we wanted to maybe write a song dedicated to one of the best books ever written, which is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So we've written like maybe 6 or 7 songs already that are like deeply impactful, like solid protest songs, but they're written about the characters in the book
Oh,
Got
dealing with a crazy time that doesn't make any sense, right? Because the book is very illogical and farcical, right? The
mm,
it's about that like zany comedy aspect, and you could write for days on that. Like once you get the hook, you're like,
right.
oh, I'm totally going to write about that. So we have a bunch of songs now that's gonna we will record them at some point, but we have a good bank of songs now that's going to go into it's either going to be an EP or an album, and it's going to be Hitchhiker's Guide related, and it's going to be everything that everyone's ever dealt with, like through the pandemic up until now.
wow. Okay.
But it's like I don't know if you've seen us do a song called "Don't Panic."
No, no.
So so we wrote that during the pandemic, and that's a perfect example. I'm like uh, the lyrics in the song are like, um, "There's a virus on the streets tonight. There's an army of the dead. I lost my towel and I don't feel right. I'm gonna put this paper bag over my head. Don't panic. Um, and I'd burn it down if they left it all to me. Don't lose your humanity and don't let the Vogons read you poetry."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like it's definitely a protest song, but when you think about it, it's like it's all Hitchhiker's Guide stuff. So fans of the book are going to be like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's kind of absorbed on different levels, but it
Okay.
doesn't say like you know one of the lines I say. Uh, the newsman says it's the end of the world. Don't panic. And you're still not sure if you're a boy or a girl. Don't panic. Uh, uh, the police kicked in my brother's door. Don't panic. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
makes me emotional, makes me cry. But in the context of the song, it's real fast and poppy and fun. So, and that's what I like about ska. Ska's always been a juxtaposition. You can write about the most horrendous, terrible, uh, insidious things and put it to a danceable beat, and people will absorb it and they will listen to it, they will
Hmm.
love it, and they will think about it when the song is not playing.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
About skies, almost like a misdirection. It's like, oh, I'm going to put this in your brain, think about it later, come back to me, okay, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. It's very important to get that message out there.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
My next question for you is kind of like a three-part question. It's
Yeah.
working with certain individuals, such as Mr. Dub Robot,
Oh yeah, yeah.
uh, with Brian, working with Brian. We just had him in a Mobtown interview last week. Tell us about working with Brian. I know he's producer and
Mm,
engineer extraordinaire too.
absolutely. Brian is like the shaman of engineers. He's
Yeah.
like, we're going to do what happens next. I don't know what happens next, but I am open to it. Let's talk about it. Let's engage each other. So him and I work really good together. because
Mhm.
I need someone like that to bounce ideas off of. And he's just like, yeah, we could do that.
Mhm.
Or we can hire like an entire fleet of tubas to play this line. Oh, I get it. It's not a good idea. I mean, just silly stuff like that where he's
Was that after he's been working with Western Standard Time?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, he's just a really charming, unique individual, unique view on life. He doesn't have a hateful, spiteful bone in his body, and he loves to tell good stories.
Yeah.
So him and I get along really well. We actually call him the secret weapon because, and I don't even know if he knows that, but we call him the secret weapon because whenever we are like, geez, we want to do this show, but we don't have a horn section, blah, blah, blah. I could just call him and he's just like, hey, like, I'll, I was going to do this wedding, for a friend, DJ a wedding. And yeah, I'm just going to go and show up at your show. And then I'll, think about going into a wedding after.
Yeah.
Like he's that guy. He's just
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be fun and worth it. And so he's always been kind of our, you know, uh, uh, eight ball in the pocket, just kind of there waiting for us.
That's
Uh,
right.
but yeah, he's a genuinely cool dude. Now, with that being said, we did a couple of recordings with him in the early days, and we liked the experience. And then when Lost at Sea came out, we had actually asked him, "Hey, I saw some interview with Rick Rubin, right?"
Mhm.
And so Rick Rubin had recorded the um, okay, so this gets uh, music history, right? So one of the first bands to do this was the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones, when they did Exile on Main Street, they moved to France because of taxation issues. And they brought in a bunch of the engineers that they wanted to do a record with. And they literally lived with the engineer. They ate with the engineers. They drank with the engineers. They did drugs with the engineers. They swapped women with the engineers. Whatever they did, it was all party and lots of recordings that were some were not usable and some of them were just absolutely amazing, right? So then those made it to record and made something new, something that felt new and interesting, something that was more organic than their standard recording, and something that has a time honored like feel to it. And then Rick Rubin comes along and he does that with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, right?
Mhm.
So they put out blood sugar sex magic.
Mhm.
Was I don't know, you can like them or not like them as a band, but that album, even though it's all stolen riffs, that album is such a feel album from the beginning to the end. It is really like the best overall thing that they've done. Um, and Rick Rubin said, well, the way I got that is to, yeah, there you go, is to literally have them live at this at this house that I rented, and we made a big studio out of it, and we did the Exile on Main Street thing. So I was talking uh, to Brian Wallace about that, and he said, well, why don't you just come down and like live at the studio? And I said, this might take a while. He's like, 2 weeks, 3 weeks for it. What do you need? Like, okay. So we got the guys together and we lived in the studio for about 2 weeks. And then while we were finishing up, like doing the mix downs, I would drive down there and because his studio was in Atascadero, which is kind of like it's by San Luis Obispo.
Mhm.
And yeah, so we lived, drank, ate, showered, whatever, slept on the floor in the studio. He made like mattresses out of like sound foam. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy, and just to be in a situation where you're like in a dead sleep and someone taps you, it's like, yo, it's time to record your part. You're like, oh crap, can I? Okay, and then I'm going to record my part, and then you record, you try 3 or 4 times, and all of a sudden you get
Mhm.
amazing, and it's because you're in a weird lucid state somewhere between sleeping and living, right? Um, and then the story of the bean pillow arrives. So I'll tell you a story, super funny story. So Brian Wallace at some point decides, we're not going to be able to survive the 2 weeks if we're going out and getting pizzas all the time because it's too expensive, right? So he says, you know what? I got it. I got it. We're gonna do this right. So he gets one of these crock pots, these big crock pots, right?
Uh-huh.
And he fills it with beans, right? And then he pours water and it's just boiling for like a day or two.
Yeah.
And then he gets a stack of tortillas, right? And we're just making, bean tortillas, making burritos or whatever. And we're having a good time. And he had this he had these two doors, he had this like a door that opened up into the alleyway, and then there was a hallway that went this way, and then there's two doors that opens into the actual studio, right? So he has those two doors completely open, like against the wall, right? Right, and he's got the doors, and he locks them at night. And outside the door, he has this table set up where he's got the beans just bubbling like the entire time we're there, right? And we're just eating off of this bubbling beans, and it's all right, whatever. And then one day he wakes up and he's walking around, and he's like tapping the wall, looking up, he's looking down. Brian, what are you doing? He's like, I think something died in the walls.
Oh God, I know where this is going.
Died in the walls. He's like, yeah, like a cat or a rat or something, because this place smells awful. And I don't know where it's coming from. And he's like running around sniffing at it. And he can't find this. And he's like, it's driving me mad. I can't work anymore. It's driving me mad. And so he gets out like the long yellow gloves and he's got brooms and mops and he's mopping every square inch of the place, trying to like overpower the stench, right?
Yeah.
Then he's like, he moves the table with the bean thing, and he opens the door, and someone's pillow had slumped behind the door. The bean pot had overboiled onto the pillow, and
Oh,
the pillow just saturated. It was just wet and goopy, and
oh.
and just filled with bean juice, and it was the most stinky thing. It was like blossom of the worst smell.
I thought you were going to say it was one of your bandmates.
No, it was. It was. It was one of our bandmates' pillows. He had
Oh, it was
set
his
it up,
pillow. Yeah.
yeah, he set it on the table. Then Brian set up the bubbler next to the pillow. The pillow slid off the table, and the bubbler overboiled onto the door, and it's melted under the door, and the pillow picked it up.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be somebody's ass was smelling like that. That's what I was thinking
Well, close.
with all the beats.
Oh man, no, it's funny. We still laugh about that.
So also, you've also worked with Kincaid, who plays trumpet with Hepcat on a couple of the albums too.
Absolutely.
Tell us
Uh,
a little bit about working with him.
so he's kind of part and parcel with the Brian Wallace experience.
Mhm.
So Brian Wallace recorded in that session. He recorded something like 22 songs for us. So Lost at Sea is the 10 best songs from that experience that we felt went with each other, right? And then we had another 12 songs, and those songs kind of got peppered into the other albums after. So we basically tried to keep a tone through those other albums to match the tone, or if the tone wasn't right, we re-recorded the songs, because some of the songs were a great sketch but not a good song yet, right? So we do another version of it, speed it up, slow it down, throw a different instrument on it, and then all of a sudden it sounds right. So some of those songs made it to the end of the album. Some of the songs made it to other versions that got onto the albums.
Mm.
So with that being said, Kincaid moved to the Bay Area and asked me if I knew of a place to work. And so I got him his first job in the Bay Area. And so we were talking about it, and he says, "Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing some recording with you." "Yeah, I know Brian Wallace." So him and his wife came down, and they spent one session. So there's a couple of albums that have him credited on the songs, but those are the songs that made it to those other albums. So
Got
that's
it.
I am. So he did that, and then also part of that experience was Dr. Ringding. We were on tour with Dr. Ringding. He'd never been to California,
Hmm.
and on Intermittent Waves, he does a song called "Rude Vibrations." Now, "Rude Vibrations" was
The
said,
Busters.
yeah. So "Rude Vibrations" was years before. We had recorded it at Brian Wallace's studio, and we were sitting on it for like years, and then we put it on Intermittent Waves because we had this whole concept like we're going to steal a Beach Boys album cover, and we're going to put a Beach Boys inspired song on there.
Yeah.
And but that was interesting. We were on tour with we were in the middle of the process of finishing up the album at Brian's studio. We had just done the Kincaid stuff, and then we went out on tour with Dr. Ringding. Dr. Ringding, we were playing as his backup band, so
Mm.
Ringding in front of Monkey, and we got to California, and he was just so like, "I wanted to be in California my entire life. This is going to be amazing." And I said, "Well, you can write a song. Like, we can just record a song. We're going to be passing through Atascadero." So we did one afternoon, probably about 3 hours, knocked out a song, and he just sat there writing lyrics, and he's like, "Hey, what else is cool about California? Like, tell me something." Name off some cities, and just like writing them like a frenzy, and then he just like made a miracle song out of nowhere, out of the rhythm pack that we had laid
Yeah.
down. Because we're like, oh, we definitely have the concept of the song. We wanted to steal "Good Vibrations" and take the chorus of "Good Vibrations" and make it the verse, and then take the verse of "Good Vibrations" and make it the chorus,
Okay.
so that people couldn't quite tell that we stole it. So
That
uh,
was and Dr. Ringding used to be in El Basso from Germany, right?
yes,
Love that band. I
yeah,
have I have like four of their albums.
yeah,
Yeah, because I was all into the German ska back in the 90s.
yeah.
I just loved everything about Busters, Butlers, Chaos, No Sports, Bosso, fucking Braces, everybody. All those were all my favorite. That's still my go-to stuff, which
Yeah,
is awesome.
no, he touched a lot of that. He was in several different bands, including his Dr. Wingding and Senior All Stars.
Hmm.
Um, and he also, like, we were just talking about him. He's amazing. He's amazing. Uh, he has a podcast. He DJs. He's a comedian, like actual stage comedian.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah, he does all of it. He's like, I want to do all of it. I want to be an actor. I want to be a comedian. I want to be a musician. I want to be everything. And so he's just like a like a boiling pot of beans. He's got
Without the
all
stench,
the
hopefully.
Yeah.
yeah, without the stick. No sleep, no pillow.
Now the last part of my three-part question was the animation that you guys worked with Parker Jacobs.
Yeah. So Pat Parker Jacobs is a fan and a friend, and I'm a fan of his stuff and a friend of
Mhm.
his. And for some reason, like, he just really digs us. He just really digs us and has a great time. We used to play with GoGo 13 all the time in Southern California, uh,
Mhm.
and recently he's moved back to Utah and restarted GoGo 13 in Utah. So hopefully, at some point, we'll be out there and play with them out there.
Yeah, we saw them a few months ago when they played for the Aquabats 30th
That's
anniversary thing. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, because we know Brian Gilmore. He used to be in My Superhero,
Yeah.
and he's playing with them now.
Oh,
So Yeah, because I believe Brian lives in I think Arizona now.
Uh,
And then they came and played for that show. I think it was just a one-off, or I don't know if they played a couple shows.
nice,
But yeah, that was pretty awesome.
nice, nice. Yeah, what's your favorite Go-Go 13 song?
Well, it's not Idiot Box because everyone plays that. We were just we had a interview with the Goodwin Club, so we had Rich and Tommy on last night. And then we were just talking about the whole thing with the Idiot Box, and everyone fucking plays that song.
Yeah,
Every Orange County band plays the song.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. There's a bunch. I don't really know the names of it. I only just have that one CD by them.
I like it. Exploded.
Oh yeah, it exploded. But the artwork that he did on that album is just amazing too.
Oh yeah. Well, all
Uh,
his artwork is amazing.
yeah.
He worked as a line artist for Paul Frank, and then
Oh really?
yeah. So a lot of the, I mean, he didn't come up with the monkey character. The
Mhm.
what's the name of the monkey character? I can't remember.
Paul- I forgot his name.
It's like Juno or something. I can't
It's
remember.
been a long time. My kids really didn't get into that, but
Jojo?
No, 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 not that. Anyway, he didn't create the monkey, but he did a lot of the artwork for them, and layouts and stuff like that for advertising and whatnot. And then he went on to be, well, I mean, he's always been the artist for the Aquabats,
Mhm.
and then he started working in Disney. So he was a line artist in Disney for a long time, and that ended recently. So he and then he was of course Aquabat Super Fun Show, and that led to a Yo Gabba Gabba.
Mhm.
Did all the monsters design for Yo Gabba Gabba,
Yeah,
um, and then he started doing. He's got a whole bunch of like comic book lines and stuff that he does on the side, right? Like characters that he cultivates, hoping that someone will pick it up and like make a show out. So
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
he's a great dude.
Now the song Epic on the album Bananarchy sounds
Yes.
like a roller coaster ride. The whole album has a more upbeat and driving sound. Can you tell us why this album sound is different than the previous ones?
That was actually like well, we've always if you listen to all the albums, even back to Changuito, first album, we always try to throw a couple of curveballs, right? So we always have like a true ska song, a true reggae song, a kind of a rock song or punk song, that sort of thing. With Bananarchy, like, well, we got these couple of songs that are left from the Brian Wallace tapes, and they were a little punky to be on the album at the time. But like, why don't we just make a punky album around it? So we decided to make that our punk album. It's not really punk because if you listen to it next to Intermittent Waves and next to the album before it, it's still kind of in the same vein, right? It's still kind of like it's just that now it's more of a instead of a lush rock song, it is a four-piece rock song or a stripped down horn section rock song. So it does have a more raw appeal to it. Uh,
Mhm.
but it also, like, I mean, it's also a snapshot in time. You're becoming a jerk is that song was a uh, so there's a band from our area called the Eradicats. Great name for a band.
Mhm.
They were from Vallejo, and they put out an album for ska or Moon Ska's Satellite Records. Like they had like a satellite. I think it was called Ska Satellite or something like that. And it was like, okay, Moon Ska was like all the big bands, and then Satellite was going to be their up and coming. Yeah,
I think Critical Mass was on that label too.
exactly. Oh, Critical Mass. Yeah. We're actually sung about on a couple of songs on
Oh really?
on the last
Huh.
album. There's actually a song where he says, "Do you know this? Do you know that?" He's like, "You know Monkey? Yeah, I know Monkey." Uh, yeah, God, that guy's that's another rabbit hole. Like Michael Valadares, like one of my favorite people. With that being said, to get back to You're Becoming a Jerk, so the guitarist of the Eradicats was a great dude, really fun dude, and he actually recorded on our second album. He was the guitarist that he does a good, like a crazy jazz solo on our second album, and he's always been a nice guy. And then suddenly he got married and just swung hard right, like hard right, full on Trumper mode explosion. And he was dogging on my posts, same stuff that everyone gets mad at each other for. And I just started asking him, like, well, why? Well,
Oh,
why does this anger you? Why does this do this? Why does it do that? And I wasn't being, I was being interrogated, right? But I wasn't being negative. I was being positive. I was like
mm.
trying to like say, where are you coming from, bro? And he wrote back, he's like, you think you're high and mighty, but like next time I see you, I'm gonna sock you in the gut. And I was like,
Okay.
like, dude, you're a fellow musician, you're a friend. And so I wrote the song. I wrote the song about him, and and the funny thing is, his brother is still playing music, and his brother loves that song.
he, he must not like his brother.
He's a big jerk, and nobody likes him anymore. But yeah, it's sad when people have to be that way. But it's fun to sing about them because everybody knows that person, right? That person is
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I know.
everybody. You're just like, yeah, no, you're becoming a jerk. Nobody likes you. But anyway, what we were saying beyond that, we had mentioned somebody else. I don't know.
Was that the last question you asked, Jose? You asked the last question?
Oh, it was just the album on how it was different from the other albums, how it was Lauren driven. Yeah.
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 Now, when you first got into ska, what are the bands that you learned about first and envied?
Okay, well, so here's so I talked about my early pre-Monkey era music, right? I was playing music and it was the wrong music with the wrong people um I had these other guys that were trying to come up with an idea, and I said, yeah, you should play, and it should be called Monkey. That would be the ultimate band name. And then when I joined the group, I was like, I was so I was so angry about how the other group had just kind of allowed itself to fall apart. And so I was like, okay, um, we're going to make something that's got a focus, it's got a direction. And so I talked to the guys. I said, I saw this band called Skinny Pickle, and they're amazing. Like they're mind blowing. And we went out to a couple shows, and they're like, "Oh, we got to play ska. We got to do this. We got to do that." And I said, "Yeah, but there's so many bands that are playing like this hyper third wave ska thing. It was 1995, right? And that was like right before the ska apex. So there was
Mhm.
you could throw a rock and hit a ska band in any community. So I said, if we're going to play ska, like no one's going to even know who we are if we play ska punk. We have to play something that's more original. And the only thing I can think of is just going deep into the archives and into a tradition. And so we decided to do that. And it was kind of a hard ride because when you come from a modern music world and you hear this ska punky stuff, it makes sense. But then you hear the original stuff and it kind of sounds like a guy with like a ukulele. It's like you get that feeling of like why people are like, I hate ska. I never hated it, but I was like, oh, this stuff sounds great. And then I try to play it and I'm like, oh, this is very behind the beat, very slow. It's very monotonous. It's like two chords. Can we get a third chord? Can I buy a third chord? Can someone do something with
Uh-huh.
that? Like that, that's the thing. It's like sometimes in order to understand a genre, you have to get into it and just like go, okay, what's the actual bones of this house?
Hmm.
What's actually holding this together? Because it's delightful to dance to, but it's kind of a wreck to play. There's a lot of like subtleties, and the subtleties are kind of like the music itself can be repetitive, and if you're not ready for it, it can be boring, right? So what is going to supercharge you about no or like understanding the subtleties unless you take your mind down to that, right? Like I'm not the greatest musician in the world. I am just a musician. Why can't I just play two chords? Now that we're on that discussion, let's do it right. Okay, slowly, one, two, three, four, and so you get into that zone, and then you start understanding how music works in a way that other people don't. You know, the other people that hit it fast with a band, it's like, we're going to copy everything that Rancid did. Well, Rancid copied everything that, the Specials did.
Yep.
Copied everything that Desmond Decker did, and Desmond copied somebody else.
Yep.
Like who was the beginning of that train, and can you get something like that and bring it into the modern era? So that's kind of what the original focus was kind of
Yeah.
pulling those bones apart and seeing if there's anything to really chew on. But yeah, what was the question? What kind of went on a tangent.
Well, basically, the first bands that you first heard and learned about the ska genre
Yeah,
that you
so
really took to.
yeah, so Skank Pickle was definitely a big one. MU330 was a big one for me, and then I dove into the roots stuff, and immediately was hooked on Desmond Decker and Jimmy Cliff
Mm.
and Toots, and then Toots is really um, where I'm like, you can have this two chord song that sounds exactly like the guy next to him, right?
Hmm.
And this band is going wah wah wah, right? And then here's Toots, and he's like, and you're like, wow, okay, that is someone just pistol whipping the music, right? So so once I get into the Toots thing, I am like hard hooked, right? So like for a while there was like Scotlights and Toots, Scotlights and Toots, Scotlights and Toots. Some Desmond, Scotlights and Toots. So it's reflected in the band for sure. You can hear the we every musician lifts something, whether or not it sounds like the song that they lifted it from. They may take something that's like what they call is like taking the spirit of the song, right? So the chords are different, the bass line's different. In fact, everything's different, but it has a feel that is similar to the other one. How do you have feel? Well, maybe it's a rhythmic feel, or maybe it's a vocalist feel, or something where you're maybe it's even a lyrical content feel, right? So there's a lot of songs that I'm like, I write these songs with all these lyrics that people don't even take the time to listen to, right? So what about if I write a song like "Walking on Coals"? "Walking on Coals" is a dedication to Toots, right? Because it says, it says a line, and then it repeats the line, and then it says the
Hmm.
chorus, and the second verse, it says a line, then it repeats the line, and you're back in the chorus. It's super simple. It's like church simple. It's church music, right?
Mm.
But it has that fire, and it has that feel, and it has the concept of the song is like, uh, I've always been alone, and I have to stand up for myself,
Hmm.
and everybody does. we're all walking through the fire of life, right?
Hmm.
So as long as you have something that deeply touches you, it can be simple, but you project it into the crowd, project it into the listener. And the listener's like, I don't know why I like that song, but like I feel it. And
Right.
it's so simple. It's just repeating, repeating,
Mm.
and then we're out. But the the format of the song, there's nothing on the soul of the song. The soul of the song is like, this is a guy who's seen some hard shit
Hmm.
and has gotten through it, and you can too.
Right.
Right?
It kind of reminds me of what you're talking about. It's like that "Many Rivers to Cross" by Jimmy Cliff. Such a soulful song. You can feel everything within it, what he's talking about. But I love that you touched on, of course, Toots, and I was fortunate to have seen him a couple times. He played at the Santa Monica Pier. I think was the first time I saw him in the early '90s. And then you mentioned when you said the word delightful, and then you said the Scatolites later. Um, my favorite all-time ska song is "You're So Delightful" by the
Mm-hmm.
Scatolites,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I just love that band. But I want to touch back, not to take any time away from Jose, but just want to touch back. You were talking about your band that was different because in the Bay Area, you guys had a lot of bands that were more upbeat, kind of like Blind Spot,
Yeah,
um,
they were.
Slow Gherkin, a little more upbeat than then. And then you had the most ska-core ones, Janitors,
Yeah,
and Flat Planet
yes.
also. But you guys also had Punch the Clown. You guys had Marzavilla. You guys had
We
God, I'm
had
trying to
a small
remember.
band for a very short time called Crime in Italy. They were a great band.
I don't know that one.
We had also a band called Los Gatos, and they weren't from Los Gatos. They were from
Oh, yeah.
they were like in the North Bay.
Oh wait, you guys had one called, and I don't know if it was near you, called Stub, right?
Uh,
Small Town Ugly Bastards.
uh,
Where's Kingman? Kingman is that up near you or
Kingman. Oh,
Kingman?
Kingman's yeah, Kingman's like it's kind of like halfway between here and San Luis Obispo.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
about 2.5, 3 hours south of us.
Yeah. Yeah. But then they have Punch the Clown also,
Yeah,
Critical Mass.
yeah. Critical
I'm trying to
Mass.
remember all the bands from back. There was a shitload
Uh,
though. Oh, Undercover Ska
Undercover Scott. Yeah, yep. And
also.
there was uh, Little Tin Frog and uh, Tin Circus.
I
Hmm.
don't know those ones.
Uh, Little Tin Frog's not exactly a ska band. They played with every ska band, but they were kind of like geek rock. They were kind of like a college small band version of what Weezer was doing on their first album, like geeky stuff. Um, God, who else? There was the Blue Beat Stompers.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's right.
and
Yeah, Luis put out their album.
they were the only band that was doing like super traditional in the area. There was oh God, there was the whole Axe record thing for a while there, Dion. Um,
There was
and
that This Is Raj
yeah, this is Raj.
CD that I forgot what label that was that put that all those
Yeah,
people out.
it was Raj Records.
It was Raj, okay, of course.
Raj Records. Yeah, Raj was basically the so Petaluma was a hot spot for a while. It was the Tin Circus, Little Tin Frog, the Punch the Clown, um, and like three or four. Oh, the Conspiracy,
Oh
uh,
yeah, The Conspiracy. Oh yeah, I remember them.
and so those bands were all from the Santa Rosa / Petaluma area. And Raj was, I think, if I'm not getting it wrong, was like a buddy who was like, hanging out with them and said, well, if you guys all want to put something out, like, let's just make a label out of this. And so,
Yeah.
and here's the weirdest thing. So Punch the Clown has not been a band for like 20 years, right?
Hmm.
And Punch the Clown, by the way, like one of the best bands, really, really an amazing band. But they've just recently, like in the last 2 years, put out an album, right? It's very, very quiet. No one,
I have like three records from them.
yeah. So
Yeah, and one was recently.
yeah, one was recently. Here's the crazy thing. So Raj Records blew up a long time ago, and after they blew up, then that like the band blew up, and so they had remembered that they left a whole bunch of recordings with Raj, and but Raj doesn't live in the Bay Area anymore, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, they were called. I think they were called by a friend who said, "Hey, I was looking in a dumpster and I found your music in a dumpster." And they're like, "Oh, someone threw away one of our albums." He's like, "No, this is like tapes, like
A reel?
reels."
Oh shit.
What? Like, I'm getting in the car right now. Drive over.
Right.
And they had this album that they had given to Raj Records, and Raj Records fell apart and it just disappeared. It just showed up in a dumpster and someone found it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so what happened?
So they put out that record, the newest record.
That's fucking amazing.
So that,
Wow.
that was an accidental record. It was just like it was supposed to happen back in the day. It didn't
Yeah.
happen. All of a sudden it happened. It was
Yeah.
just showed up one day. Like someone was like clearing out boxes, threw them all in the garbage, and someone else came along and said, like, all this is it says Punch the Cloud on it. Like, where's
Yeah.
my band?
So weird. Was Siren 6 also from up there after they moved from Wisconsin?
No, no, they weren't from there. They
I
were
thought they were from your area.
no, no. They were definitely from I think they stayed from Wisconsin. I don't think they ever moved out.
Well, when they were Stinkfish, they did. But then they moved. No, no. I think they moved over here when they're still Stinkfish. Because I think you guys did a lot of those cassette tapes with Janitors and Flat Planet and
Mhm.
Slow Gherkin and a bunch of those.
Yeah, yeah.
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 But so I could have sworn that before they changed their name, they had already moved to the Bay Area.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't remember. I'd seen them and they were an
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, there. I have those releases that they put out after the fact.
Every once in a while, like especially like this weekend, we went down to play at Josh Coots, Junior Ska Boss's
Mhm.
birthday party, and he spins CDs. He's
Yeah, that's awesome.
like I love CDs, and he was spinning Siren Six. I'm like, oh, spinning. Oh, no one spins Siren Six. This is amazing.
Yeah. I love they had such good stage presence too. I mean they were so good live.
The lights, the siren lights.
Well, I don't remember that. I'm just talking about their stage together. They rock out like fuck, man. I'm trying to I think they it's kind of hard to describe, but their stage presence is really good. They're up in your face and they're rocking around and moving.
So on their last, I think on the last tour, they had found these like old cop lights, right? They used to like the cars that weren't made to be cop cars, but they had that light that you could magnetically stick to the top of the
Yeah.
car, flash, and it was
Hmm.
these were red lights. They were just red flashing lights, right? And so what they did, they had a concept, and it was the most amazing thing that like a way to get a crowd supercharged for them. They'd turn out all the lights, the red lights would start flashing, and then they had an actual military grade siren that they would crank up
Oh,
backstage.
damn.
It was like the lights would come on and you go
I don't remember that.
so loud. I mean, it was
Oh wow.
like this was for like a city, right? Be on the stage with it, and everyone's like holding there. It's like and it's the whole room's just flashing red, and then they just run out and they just start pummeling you with music. Oh, amazing
Yeah, great band. Great band.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then oh God, and then there's the Sacramento bands were good at that time too.
Filibuster.
Yeah, Filibuster and the Sacto Storytellers are loose elements of the Filibusters and the Scratch Outs and some of the other bands from back then.
Yeah.
Just yeah, and then of course you had the Central Valley stuff like Los Hooligans and
Hmm.
Let's
Let's
Go
go
Bowling.
bowling.
It's the boring.
Such amazing era. Like music is so good then.
Oh, well, you know what? It does show. This one, that West Coast compilation, does show, I guess, Siren 6 in the Bay Area.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's showing them down south, so
Yeah. So that's weird. I wonder.
I would say that that's probably San Luis Obispo. probably that or Santa Barbara.
Yeah, I don't know. It just says they're Minnesota. Minnesota. I thought it was Wisconsin. Anyway,
No.
all right, Jose, you're up.
Yeah, the song Rito sounds like a fun Spanish song, right? Did you
Yeah.
have to learn Spanish for that song, or did you already know the language?
Well, I know a little bit of Spanish already, so it was easy for me to piece apart that song. We had help a little bit with, we were friends with a band called Firme, and
Okay.
Firme used to help us out with some lyrical ideas, mostly for Quemará, which was on our first album. And it's Estoy bailando tan rápido que mi corazón se quemará, which means I am dancing so fast my heart feels like it's burning. Um, and it's totally improper Spanish, but it works.
Someone
Um,
was asking. Yeah.
uh, but yeah, the Rito thing, that's a there's a story behind every song, right? Uh,
Yeah.
behind Ritos is when I was one of my first jobs ever, I worked in the kitchen in a retirement facility, right? It was like an apartment complex for like people that didn't want to go to the old folks home. They would go to this apartment complex. It was a gated community type of thing. And they had a central kitchen that they could all come down and eat dinner with and see all their neighbors, right? So it was like a micro neighborhood, right? So I was working as a dishwasher. I was 16, 17 years old working at this little dishwashing in the back of this kitchen. And there were two Mexican guys. One was a really old guy, and one that was a young guy. And they didn't speak a lick of English, right? So I was always trying to pick up stuff from them. I was trading.
Mm.
And
All the
then,
bad words first.
yeah.
Always.
And so if you can imagine, I've got my hands in the sink and I'm washing dishes. And the younger guy's over on this side, he's putting dishes away or something like that. And then way around this side, the old guy creeps around the corner and he goes, and I'm like, why is he making that noise? And he's looking at the young guy and he goes, Rito, Rito. And then the guy would go, ah, like that. And they would always kind of razz each other with this word, Rito, Rito. And so finally, I get the older guy work up the courage because I'm only like 16 years old. And said, what's this word that you keep saying? He's all, what word? He's like, Rito. He's like, oh, Rito, Rito. It's just
Can't explain it.
it's just a funny name. He's he's just a funny name.
And you were looking for something for so meaningful, right?
But what's funny is he goes from happy to sad. He's just a funny little name. And so I always wanted to write something about some guy who thinks he's the best of the best.
Hmm.
It's Rito.
El mero mero.
Metal metal.
Middle, middle, yeah.
So you guys had the opportunity to also back Bad Manners,
Yes.
right? Tell us about Buster and what that was like.
Crazy.
I heard he's wild.
NDA.
I mean, that's funny because I was watching. I said this on one of the other interviews that I was watching the history of LA Ska with Junior and Eric, and they were interviewing Let's Go Bowling, and the Let's Go Bowling guys were telling their stories of when they toured with him, certain wild ass things that he used to do in the hotel rooms.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So you heard about the Sultan's Cross.
Yeah, Sultan's Cross, exactly. And they wrote a song about that.
Yes, yes, yes. No, it was so we had heard from Mike Park from Sandy Pickle years and years ago. Yeah, Mike Park says, "Oh, if you ever want to learn how to be like a real musician, you got to hang out with Bad Manners.
Mhm.
That guy is the smartest best entertainer I've ever known in my life. I will never know an entertainer that can entertain as good as that guy. And he is just wickedly smart. He knows everything. Okay, I'm really all about it. And so
Yeah.
finally we get a call from them. Hey, you guys want to do a tour with us? I was like, yeah, sure. So we're touring with them and we are their backup band.
Mhm.
Right. So it's our drummer, our bassist, and our horn section. Right. And so we are doing this tour, and they did a tour through a company called like Universe Artists, not Universal, but like Universe Bookings, something about the universe. Terrible, worst booking company ever. So they basically said, "Oh, we're not even going to try all these, territories. We know where there's people that will pay us a lot. And so we're going to send you there. And we don't care if there's like 19 hours of driving between gigs. We don't care." So that's what they did. So the tour, before dealing with any weirdness from the band, because we just met them, the tour had it went like this. Uh, they flew into Southern California. They got a tour guide to drive them up to the Bay Area. We practiced with them once. We went to Seattle, then we went back down to Southern California from Seattle. Then we went back up to the Bay Area to play a Bay Area date. We went back to Southern California, TJ, Arizona, back to Southern California, then Oklahoma and Texas.
What?
Like just super zigzaggy with
Wow.
drives, no reason to waste that much gas. And it totally broke our vehicle. Our vehicle blew up, and we had to shelve it for a couple of days and had to get like a fleet of like small vans to like make this thing happen. Meanwhile, the guys in Bad Manners weren't really happy with the experience because our van broke. Uh, we were tired, and they weren't because of certain things that they do.
Mhm.
And yeah, it turned from being real fun to being real like snitty for a
Hmm.
while, and then it got good again. We ended on a friendly note,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of tragic moments where there weren't necessary. They weren't necessary, and it was all because of the stress of the tour. The stress of the tour like brought out the worst of everyone. So I will always give them that. Like as far as how weird and how strange and how they weren't the amazing learning experience that Mike had, right? We didn't experience that. We
Right.
experienced the road trauma and them going, well, what are you going to do about it? And I'm like, you're the headline band. You got to do something about it. We ran out of money, right? So there was a lot of that going on. So needless to say, it was a lot different for us, and we kind of felt put out by it. But years and years later, we're like, things happen, you
And
know?
then you got to reunite with Buster at
Yeah,
Supernova a couple
yeah.
couple years ago, and that kind of I kind of think I kind of stole a part of Jose's question because he was gonna touch base on Buster. So
Oh,
I know Jose, if you want to finish up that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how was it working with some ska legends such as Buster, Blood Vessel of Batman, and Roland Alfonso of the Scatolites?
Roland was great.
Yeah.
Roland.
So, so we'll. Needless to say, just to put a cap on it, the bad manners thing was definitely a learning experience on all of our
Hmm.
behalfs. And at the end, they are genuinely wonderful people. They're just a little strange, and they love to ride the the fence of what is legal and what is and what people think. It's just basically okay. So I'll tell you one story about Buster, and then we'll talk about Roland Alfonso. Buster, on the last day that we are playing with them, we play in Las Vegas, and then they fly from like Las Vegas home. Then the next morning, I see Buster, and he's walking around, and he's got a brand new hat on, right? Brand new hat. And he's got brand new glasses. They're ska glasses. Like there's a famous picture of him going, grinning, and he's got these ska glasses on. Those are the glasses, right? And
Okay.
I think he's actually wearing the hat from that tour. And he's got brand new shoes, and I think a brand new shirt, right? And I say, hey, Buster, I think you forgot to take the tag off the glasses. And he's all, yep, because I nicked them. And I'm like, you nicked them, so you stole the glasses. He's like, oh yeah, and the hat and the shirt and the shoes.
They get
And
the whole ensemble.
I was like, what the hell? I mean, it's like 9 in the morning. He's already like stolen grand larceny here already. And I'm like, you stole everything? And I said, I looked down, I said, Buster, you're wearing two left shoes. He goes, I had to. They put only the lefts out because they want people stealing the pair. So he got a size 11 and a size 12 lefts
Wow.
Oh
Wow.
my God.
because and on stealing because he finds joy in that. He's like, I'm gonna steal. And then when they ask me why I'm stealing stuff, I'm gonna say, I'm a feeble old man with a I don't know what I'm doing. I'm living this literally what he does. That's like his fun zone. So very strange. Now, with regards to the Scatolites, so we had played with the Scatolites in San Jose, and I had attended a ton of shows, and I always tried to talk to them because they're just amazing, right? And I was lucky enough to live through the period where most of the original players were there, right? So you had the full lineup. The full lineup. You had the two Lloyds,
Mhm.
Lester, and you had the even what's his name, the
Tommy.
Tommy McCook. The only one that wasn't there was Don, right? So, and Don Drummond died, several decades before. But so I had talked to uh, Ron Alfonso about playing, and he said, oh yeah, man, he talked like this. He talked like a jazz man, right? So I we're staying in town, man. You come over to the hotel. You pick me up in the morning, 9 o'clock. You, I'm going to charge you this much. So he charges me, and I'm like, whatever. You're a legend, right?
Yeah.
And so I go over to his apartment, or his. They're staying at like the Super 8 of San Jose, right? So I knock on the door, and I hear mumbling. Nothing's happening. Give it about 5 minutes. I knock on the door. Yeah, man, I'm coming, ma. I'm coming, ma. And he opens the door, and there he is, wife beater and trunks. He's literally an old man in his underwear answering the door. And I'm like, oh, we're here to pick you up for the recording. Oh yeah, we going to make a record? I'm like, we're gonna make a record. Oh, and so he taps the bed because there's two beds in the room, and I look over at the bed, and a blanket is pulled all the way up to over the face, and then there's just dreadlocks splayed out, and it's Lloyd Brevet, or yeah, Lloyd
Yeah.
Brevet, bassist, right? And he goes, Lloyd, Lloyd, and you see this finger. He's like, "What you want, man?" He's like, "Got to make a record." And sheets go back up, and Lloyd is gone. He doesn't want any of it. So then he goes to put on his pants, tries to get his leg in the pants, falls on the bed.
Oh God.
Oh,
Tries to put the leg in again, falls back on the bed. Gets up, it's like 6 times in a row. And I'm like, oh my God, guy is waiting at the studio, and he's like mad he had to get up this early. And we get to the studio. my studio guy is livid. He's livid. He's not having a great day. This is like a Sunday. Like, you woke me up early on a Sunday. I was drinking last night. I'm done with this. And I said, you got to understand that this guy is like, it's like recording one of the Rolling Stones. Like, this is the originator of the entire musical genre. And he's like, yeah, right, right. Well, he shows up and it's all of a sudden it melts in his face. He's like, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm like, yeah, he's kind of a legend. Like, you can feel it. He's like, feel it. He's wearing a fucking Grammy around his neck. And a medallion from the fucking Grammys around his neck.
Wow.
He's like, is that a real Grammy? He's like, oh, yeah, man, they gave it to me. I wear it around. It's nice, kind of heavy.
It's that's nice. Oh, wow, nonchalant.
Yeah. And we get him in the booth, and now the our recording guy is like super happy. He's like, there. He still talks about it to this day, and
Yeah.
and he's like, okay, so here's the song, and Roland starts playing. He's in key, on time with the song, in tune with the song, just shredding.
Mhm.
And then he's like, he's kind of just doing a practice, and he stops and he's like, Roland goes, ah man, the song is stopped, and he's like, that's all right. What we're gonna do is we're gonna roll it back. We're gonna have you play through the whole song. You don't have to worry about the horn line. Like, just play whatever you feel over the whole song, and then we'll cut it up however we feel it's going to work with the song. He starts the tape, right? He's only played like 16 bars of the song, right?
Mm.
Nails everything through the whole song, just the sickest solo. And I'm like, I think we're done. And he comes out and he's like, okay, when's the next song? And I was like, that is the only song, and you're done. He's like, no, no, no. Let me do one more song. And I was like, well, we can do one more track of this one. So yeah, let me do this. So he goes in there, nails an equally amazing, explosive solo through the entire song. And I'm like, wow, wow, this is really amazing. And he comes out, he's like, no more songs? I was like, no more songs. Oh, and he goes, your song gave me a kick. And I'm like, that is awesome. That is awesome to share that moment with a legend. I drop him off, right? And years later, we are attending a Skylight show, and I brought a brick of the CD, right? And I said, hey, I brought some the CDs that you played on. He's like, I played on the record? Yeah, you recorded with me like last time you were here. Oh, do you have the record with you? I said, yeah, we have the record with us. He says, can you give me 25? And here I am. I'm like, this is our first record ever. I spent a ton of money on it. I'm super scared about like giving out stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but why do you need 25? He says, we got a lot of grandchildren.
Because of what?
Because he
Congratulations.
has a lot of grandchildren.
Oh,
And so I'm thinking he's going to give these records to his grandchildren. So I'm like, okay, I can't deny him. He's a legend. It's going to cost me a big chunk of money to give these away, but I'm going to give him an entire box of these CDs. Right?
Mhm.
So he goes away. Boom. The next year, they're on tour with Let's Go Bowling. They do the entire U.S. with the Let's Go Bowling. And then Let's Go Bowling comes to San Jose and they play with us. And the guitarist comes up and he goes, hey, how did you get Roland Alfonso to pitch for you guys? And I was like, pitch for us? What are you talking about? Every single show, he's got your album. He's like, I made a record. You buy it. It's a rare import. $25, $30.
he's selling your stuff.
Selling our fucking record. He's hawking it.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I was so put out. And then I'm like, but that's the most Jamaican thing that I could think of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ask for a record for his grandchildren, then just sell it on the road. I'm like, that is amazing. Yeah, I'm so me that happened. And the guitarist for Bowling said, "Well, you can't get a much better advertisement than have it sold to someone at maximum dollar from a legend." And
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
so,
saw them long time ago. I saw them 92. The first time I think I saw them was in Santa Cruz at Kresge College at there. This was
oh yeah,
in
I
the
think
Okay.
advertisement. And then there's the show that we saw at the Whiskey.
nice.
Let's Go Bowling, the Hepcats. It's
Yeah,
Hepcats.
yeah, Epcats, yeah, for
And then
sure.
Lucky Seven was a traditional ska band that we had here back in the day,
Yeah.
that were really good, but they didn't last very long.
What venue was the Santa Cruz one at?
I'm sorry?
What venue was the Santa Cruz one? The Santa
Oh, it
Cruz.
was on the campus. I forgot. Is it at Kresge College in UCSC?
Yeah.
Um, but my brother went there, so I went to go visit him, and then it just happened the Scatolites were playing, so we went to go see the Scatolites play there, which was fucking awesome. But yeah, I seen them play Baby BB Kings, which when Luis booked them BB King's in Universal City, and it was really cool because we all got to chill with them after the show and just kick back, and they're always smoking bud, of course. It was just good times just hanging out with the legends, but you got to, you know, record with them. You,
But
you got you got to get ripped off by him.
no, it's cool. I mean, that's the fun thing about ska is that everything is so ascertainable, right? Every legend you're going to run into at some point.
Yeah,
Uh, and by the time you get to them, you've amassed so much of a of a footprint
hmm
that they actually recognize you
yeah,
because it's a small scene, right?
hmm
So it's all over the world, but the biggest people in this genre, the mighty boss tones of the world, the madness of the world, the selector of the world, they hear about you, like some little band from California, and they're like, when we play their town, we might ask them to open for us, or like at least I know the name, so if someone asks me about them, I've heard their song on
right.
SoundCloud or something, So it's very cool, just meeting legends and then and telling them how much of an impact they have on your life.
Mhm.
And they turn around and they go, "Oh, I've been listening to your record for years. Like that first one was great." And you're like, "Oh my
Mhm.
God, I can't believe that." Yeah, it's on my iPod.
Now it's like the Agrolites and Steady 45s are backing up all the legends when they come here now.
Yeah, yeah, they are so lucky to be in such a strong um, uh, traditionalist scene and to be able to support legends because it's very easy for the legends to go, oh, well, Los Angeles is a big ass city,
Yeah.
and we got to play California, so Los Angeles is where we'll play first, so we'll just
hmm
get a band. What band is it? Oh, it's the Aggrolites, and
Mhm.
that's those guys. I mean, phenomenal musicians, of course, but aside from that, the opportunity is just enormous. That
Right.
keep getting it over and over again. In
hmm
the Bay Area, no one flies in the Bay Area because the Bay Area is like, oh, what am I going to do? Meet with like some VCs to talk about like stuff? Like it's not a ska town. It's not a music town. So
Right.
so we've and our band, in the early days, we used to talk about moving down south because we're like, oh, we wish we were down there with all the people that are actually getting the
Yep.
jobs.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's life intervenes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Jose, you have another question?
I do. The song "Cool Tutelage," the trumpet section sounds so crisp and harmonizing well together, and the trumpet and saxophone solos are awesome. I read that album was recorded in several living rooms, garages, and even a poolside hut. How does the album sound so clean, and why was it not recorded in a studio?
Well, okay, so that album came after we had a lot of change-ups in the band at that point. A lot of the foundational members had decided that they had had their 5 years of joy in the band and they were done, right? It was time to move on because they were getting married, they were kids, that sort of thing. So we lost our we lost our horns uh, because in the early days, horn players were fascinated by the ska thing, but there wasn't such a strong like cultural appeal back then. It was
Mm.
not cultural. It was like, oh, I'm going to play the ska thing because it's kind of fun, and then I'm going to return to jazz, right? So we're just going through horn players like crazy, and then our bassist, which I was one of the foundational guys that I was talking to, and I said, hey, that's the name of the band, Monkey. He had that barrel of monkeys on the wall. he had he had met the right girl and was going to get married and move up north. So he
Mm.
left the band, and then the guitarist felt that with the foundational member leaving, that it was stick a fork in it, it's probably done, you know.
Mm.
And so he kind of wanted to do a rock thing, right? So we at some moment it was almost just me, right? Because even the drummer was like, I'm going to take a break too while we're at
No.
it. It was never
Wow.
good. So I ended up writing a whole bunch of stuff, and I had no money, and we hadn't played a gig in like 6 months or whatever. And then the drummer called me up and he said, if you want to try this thing again, I think we can actually find new people. I'm all, great. I hired an entire band. We already know the music. Come and play with us, please. So that album was born in that era. So
Oh.
we said, well, we want to put something out, but we don't know how to do it with no money. And then we reached out to friends, and they were all at that time period where people are like, oh, I just learned how to do all this studio stuff, and like, because I'm super interested in it now. Well, we just bouncing from friend's house to friend's house, just kind of like recording things here and there willy-nilly, and kind of putting them
Mm.
in studios. And some of them weren't studios, they were just like people's living rooms. And we're like, yeah, if we can get an entire record worth of songs, then we could take it to a really good mastering house, and that mastering house can make the songs sound coherent or cohesive with each other. So we took it to after spending zero on the album, we took it to Fantasy Records and spent $800 on not Fantasy, um, not Fantasy. It was the record plant in Sausalito. They're the ones that did all of Metallica's albums, Steve Vai's albums. They did a bunch of stuff uh, for Stevie Wonder. There's two record plants, one's in Sausalito, one's in New York, and so they're historically uh, a, a mega record label uh,
Mm.
foundation, but they're kind of like a small hut in the middle of and so I worked with a guy named John Cuniberti to put those songs together. And basically, it was like, look, with this album, uh, you're only going to get a good album out of this if you find the worst recorded song on the album, and then you crush the quality of the other songs to match the worst recorded song.
Mm.
So what do you want to do? And I said, well, let's get that recorded song to sound the best that it can sound first. So that's what we did. We spent like a couple of hours getting one song just absolutely sparkling, and then we crushed all the other songs to match it. So it does have it has a distinctive sound, but it's also kind of a lo-fi sound when you compare it to some of the other albums that we've done. It has kind of like a kind of a kind of a brittle or a chunky brittleness to it. Um, uh, and I think the song that we were trying to match was "You Don't Know." Uh,
Oh.
that was the core song. We said that is a song. Everything's got to be of that quality. So we just brought it up as high as it could go, and then we brought the other ones down to it, and all of a sudden it sounded like a cohesive album, like it was vaguely at the same studio, or at least next to the same studio. Um, Now with that song "Cruel Tutelage," so the album is named after Kill Bill. So
Oh,
the Kill Bill movies, they have the Asian guy that keeps doing that with his beard.
Yeah.
yeah.
Pai Mei. And when Pai Mei is introduced in the first Kill Bill, there's a reading plate at the beginning, like the screen goes black and there's just words and it says the cruel tutelage of Pai Mei.
Mm.
And I was all cruel tutelage, that is the best thing I've ever heard. So I took that and popped that as the album concept and then wrote a song on it. And what the song is I wanted the uh, when I was writing the song, I wanted the guitar to sound like kind of a disco era. So if you listen to it,
Okay.
it's not doing a skank. It's going. It's like waka, 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 waka. It's very disco in a weird way, like not I would say disco, but more like black exploitation music. Like the kind of
Mhm.
um, uh,
Shaft type of thing.
that shaft kind of guitar, right?
Mhm.
So that was the bed of the music, and then the horns. We only had two horns at the time. It was a trumpet and saxophone, and I wanted to use. I was going through modes, and I found like a gypsy mode. Like a mode is like how you play. It's a selection of notes that sounds like this or it sounds like that, right? It's a dark sound, or it's a bright sound, or it's a silly sound, right? And so
Mhm.
mode was like a gypsy mode, and I was like, oh, that's the best mode. So I wrote the first line was in the gypsy mode, and then the second line was actually in uh, oh god, what's it called? There's a mode that everybody uses in blues and in jazz and everything, but it's also pentatonic. It's a pentatonic scale.
Okay.
The pentatonic scale has can it's almost every musician ever has used the pentatonic scale because it's very easily seated in a bunch of different modes, and that pentatonic
Mhm.
scale, you, people when they're first learning about it make fun of it a lot because it kind of sounds like when back when the world wasn't so nice to people of different races and different colors, they would have a little thing that they would play when a quote yellow person or an Asian person was on screen. They go na 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 na. That's pentatonic mode, right? So I'm like, okay, so we have a song, "The Cruel Tutelage of Pai Mei." It's got the '70s disco dirt that the movie has, that feel. And then it's got a horn line that's in a gypsy mode, and then a second horn line that's in a pentatonic, which is used for Asian stuff. And then the album covers Asian. So there's an entire like weird thread going through it, and it's because I was inspired by Kill Bill, basically. I'm
Cool. Cool.
really good at like zoning in on something and just like making it much bigger than it needs to be. Than it,
Now, I want to point out also that you won some awards in 1997, 1998, the Whammy nominations, and 1998, BAMI, is it called?
yeah,
Nomination, and then also in 1999, California Music Award for Outstanding Scar Artist. How
yeah.
does it feel getting those kind of recognition?
Oh, it's great. It's fleeting though. I mean, you have just about 5 minutes where everybody recognizes you, and then you're like you put it on all your brochures and all your bios and stuff like that, so that people keep it fresh in their mind. Like you're a band that actually does things. You put out stuff and you impress people when you can. But I mean, there's nobody in the band, previously or even now that is like I'm a Bammy winner. It's more like, I mean, in fact, hold on a second. I'll be back in
We get to see the Bammy now.
Yeah.
for anyone that's like, oh, these guys always talk about that thing. This is a California Music Award right
Oh,
here. I don't know.
there
Oh,
it
Oh,
is.
you got you hold it in front of your face, or else, yeah. Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so this was the California Music Award for 1999. Uh, so this supposedly, I mean, when we won this, we thought, okay, well, this is the next step. We're going to go right onto a record label, major record label after this. But as soon as they gave it to us, they said, oh yeah, you're going to get your record, you're going to get your award at a separate party from the BAMIs, because the BAMIs were like kind of a big hoity-toity thing with like rock stars from all over the world that were being presented, and it was kind of like the Grammys or the Emmys or whatever. It's a suit and tie kind of situation. Ours was like at a nightclub.
Huh.
Oh, here's the local BAMIs. Here, you get one, you get one. There's a couple drink tickets, like have fun.
Oh God.
Oh wow.
And I was like, well, when are we going to get calls from record labels? And nobody called. Nobody called. Everyone's like,
Oh.
eh. Probably the biggest call we ever got was from Bomp. Do you remember Bomp Records?
Boy, oh boy.
BOMP.
Oh, bomb. No.
Bomp Records was owned by oh God, what's his name? The punk rocker old guy that takes off his shirt and like
G.G. Allen.
no, the other guy.
You're God, I saw him last a couple years ago.
Yeah, the Stooges. Iggy.
Yeah, Iggy Pop.
So Iggy Pop owned Bomp. And I actually got a call from he didn't tell me he was Iggy Pop, but I could tell him he was Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
And so you guys are a ska band, and we're thinking that we should get a ska band on our label. And you want to send us some stuff? I was like, yeah, sure, I'll send you some stuff. And I sent him some stuff, and then he never returned the call afterwards. But
That's when you call him and get your stuff back.
so I think what
Or even
happened,
pick it up.
I think we gave him the stuff, and then the ska thing kind of fell on its face like shortly thereafter.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
That was like 99 or so. Um, by that time, so this is something that is contestable immediately when I bring it up, but I firmly believe in this, is that the ska thing of this, the third wave ska thing would have been a lot longer and a lot heavier of an impact if it wasn't for swing.
Mm-hmm.
So all these ska bands were all over America. They were making a really big dent, a really big impression. And then along comes a movie with
Swingers.
Jim Carrey and Mask.
Oh, okay.
Mass.
So Jim Carrey comes out with Mask. He's dancing around in a big green zoot suit. And then
Mm.
Cherry Poppin' Daddies go full swing, and they have the big green zoot suit. And
Mhm.
it's just like a double whammy. And the swing thing was super fun, and it lasted exactly 6 months. And
Yeah.
when it died, it took ska with it,
Yeah.
it right to the grave.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because they are wholly different, experiences. Like the swing bands had like 19 horns and like one guy in a zoot suit, and we would show up and it'd be like punk rockers with like a 2 or 3 piece horn section, just playing amazing music that's absolutely original,
Hmm.
as opposed to someone going like, oh, we need a jump horn section. It's like, oh my God, you
Yeah.
just flashing everything from the 40s.
Yeah. I've seen Royal Crown Review play down here at the Derby in Los Feliz.
Yeah,
They played there, and then Squirrel Nut Zippers also. Besides Cherry Poppy Daddies, they all got big.
they are so good. Like
Hmm.
even now, the Squirrel Music is
Oh
great.
yeah, I got a bunch of their CDs. Yeah, they're really good. I got a Christmas CD by them.
There's only one original guy. There's only
Oh really? The
yeah,
singer?
yeah, yeah. He's the only original guy, and they've got another female singer, and she's really good. She's not like the original. The original singer for them had I forget what her name is, but she had just a sultriness that she got it from Billy King, right? So she's got the Billy King sound with a little bit of Etta James in there.
Mm,
The new singer is kind of like Patsy Cline.
okay.
She's got that. sultry, velvety, thick, but like I don't have a lot of soul
Hmm.
embedded in this. Whereas the other one went right straight for the like
Yeah.
knifing soul and roots. And I really like that about the original singer. But I'm not going to say anything bad about the new singer because she holds her own. She's good. You know, she's good, and the whole experience is pretty amazing. Especially if you see them with a musician called Doctor Sick. Dr. Sick used to tour with them, and he was from New Orleans. He's a tall, lanky, weird guy that plays a gypsy violin like a mofo.
Really?
Hmm.
Never seen anyone like he'll do like kick flips while playing just the most intensive gypsy lines on the violin.
What's the guy's name again?
Dr. Sick, and you can look him up. He's got like
Doctor Sick.
Dr. Sick.
Hmm.
Oh, Doctor Sick. Squirrel Nut Zippers. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, no, he is amazing.
Did
Absolutely.
Squirrel Nut Zippers? What was that song with the Afterlife or something? Was that their hit or
No,
something here in the afterlife?
yeah, that was off of Hot, or Hot. No, the album was called Hot, and
Here in the afterlife.
yeah,
Dun,
yeah.
dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
The name of the song is though, but yeah, that song has been covered by so
Yeah.
many.
So we got two more questions for you here, so we can wrap this up. One is where can we find music by your band Monkey, both digital and physical media?
Digital and physical media, you can listen to it on all the platforms. So it's on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's on uh, all the Shazams and that. As far as purchasing it digital, you can purchase it on Bandcamp. We definitely have Bandcamp open on digital. We have our own store, monkeyska.limitedrun.com, and that will get you both the hardware and the software. So you have the digital version and the record version. You can we actually embed it with the purchase of the um, the hard record. So if you buy like
Nice.
our latest record, it has like a digital download that comes with it. You can listen to the record
Oh,
before.
that's cool.
And what's that website again?
It's monkeyska.limitedrun.com.
Okay, got it. All right. Sounds good there.
And if anyone wants to look up anything on us, we've got a link tree. So that is linktr.ee/monkeyska. And that'll give you every link that we have, like whatever, 25 links. The stores, like we have like a Zazzle store and our limited run store, and then different links for our music downloads and listening and YouTubes and all that stuff.
And we can find some of these links on your Instagram page or your Facebook page, right?
Yeah, Instagram only allows one link to exist on the Instagram. I don't know why people like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I use it. I don't know. I still don't know why. Facebook has a lot of the links, but the link tree is the one that goes to everything. So if you go to link tree, linktr.ee/monkeyska, it's got everything. It's got our SoundCloud, our Bandcamp, our
Got it.
Reverb Nation. It's just all the stuff.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll definitely
Everything.
post that on the your links there. Now, last question for you. What does the future hold for your band Monkey?
Oh, well, right now the band is excited that England seems to be popping for us. Like the we keep getting asked to play bigger and bigger festivals, and this last time we played 3 festivals over a 2-week period, and now we're coming back for 2 festivals on one weekend both amazing. One is called Boomtown, which is a very big festival in the South, but the other one is called Rebellion, which is the largest punk festival in the UK. I mean, we're talking like, I don't know, 50,000 people in a field. And they do multiple stages and multiple tents. And
Mhm.
we got asked, and we're, yeah, yeah,
Of
keep
course.
it going. Let's have some fun. And we just did oh, and then we're returning to the Flogging Molly cruise.
Oh, the
Oh,
We,
salty dog thing.
yeah, we played that a while back, and they want us back. So we're going to be on the 2026 cruise. And that is just the funnest thing. If you ever have a chance to, if someone's like, hey, your favorite band's playing the Flogging,
Uh,
don't think
we
about
were we were just talking to John Roy about that because he just when we interviewed him, he just was fresh off that cruise.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome.
I heard he got not some. I have some friends that went to it, and they said, yeah, I think he had fun, but he had fun in a very kind of like you're kind of like the filler in between shows.
Mhm.
So we're going to put you in these odd places.
Yeah.
So that was kind of perceived not well. And I'm sure that if he returns there with the band, it would be a wholly different experience.
Hmm.
Because
Exactly.
kind of did like a I'm doing this weird mixology, DJ kind of thing. And
Hmm.
if he comes back there with a real band, on stage, he will have a completely different experience.
Yeah. Well, he's got a huge band, so I don't know.
Well, what we talked about this that he keep so last year was a big one for him, and I know this has to end at some point, but last year I'm really good friends with John, and he last year was a big one for him because he had never played the cruise, and he had never played Supernova.
Mhm.
And I said, look, if you come out there, I will make sure that you get in for free. I will make sure that you get a table for free so you can sell your wares. You won't be on the show, but you can play in my band. So he played on stage with us. And
Nice.
and I said, what you need to do is you need to keep on Tim and April about Smoke and Mirrors, because all the people that you recorded with are on those stages.
Right.
So um, so when he went to Supernova, he didn't anticipate playing music otherwise than playing saxophone with us. And then he brought a small version of his music band experience in a, like I said, like a technical DJ kind of thing, a dub experience uh, to the boat. Now that he's done that, I'm like, dude, you got to think ahead. You got to start calling the people. You got to start shaking the hands and kissing the babies, and show up there as Smoke and Mirrors. But everybody is from all the other bands, and they already know the songs, and they
Right.
just play as your band. And then now you knock the house dead with, seasoned musicians that are all excited to play your
Mhm.
music. And so that's the next stage for him. He wants to do that, but he's also very busy. So,
Yeah, you were talking about your first band that you ever saw, Skank and Pickle, or the ska band. Mine was the Gangbusters.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I met John after Gangbusters broken up, and he had just put out the first record for Unsteady, and I
Yeah.
was just blown away. Yeah, you can't hear that opening, the Tokyo, like,
Mhm.
wow, who is this? It's such a good record.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's the tightrope one, right? The first one?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually toured. I did one tour as his organ player.
Oh, nice.
So that was unexpected and fun and crazy.
Yeah. Well, Curtis, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, talking about all this history of your band and you individually. We wish you the best. We can't wait to see what happens for Monkey in 2025 and beyond. Um, Want to see another Bammy one of these days. Hopefully, you'll be on the real stage this time. Any last questions that you have for the viewers? Anything they want to know?
Oh, any
You want them to?
questions?
Oh, I'm
Viewers?
sorry. Anything that you not questions. Anything that you want to tell your the viewers about your band or anything?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just look us up. You know, we've got lots of music out there. We got lots of we've been on like some like B-level movie soundtracks and that sort of thing. You know, there's a kind of a thing. There's a kind of thing for us, a kind of a microcosm of the ska world. We're in that weird corner called San Francisco that nobody actually comes from.
Yeah.
Here's a recent thing is on another podcast. One of the guys from Smash Mouth was on one of the other podcasts, and I'm going to tell you, this is absolutely true and makes me laugh so hard. So I got a buddy that says, "Oh yeah, you should check out this podcast. Like the Smash Mouth guy mentions you, right?" And so the guy's talking to him, and he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "So that song, Why Can't We Be Friends, that you guys recorded from War?" He's
War,
like,
yeah.
"Yeah, let me tell you about that song. You come from the Bay Area, you know the band Monkey." And the guy's like, "Huh?" He says, "Yeah, they lent us our horn section. They're the horn section on that song." And he's just going off about like how great it was to work with the guys from Monkey. And
Awesome.
Nice. Nice.
the funny thing is I'm like my buddy says, "So what do you think about the shout out?" And I'm confused. I don't remember us lending. So this is the first time I've ever heard of this. And evidently, some of my horn players from back in the day, you know, did a session with them, and it became one of their most time honored songs.
Yeah.
I've never heard about it. Those old horn players never told me about it. They never
Wow.
talked about it afterwards.
Yeah, you
And
can't
so
keep that to yourself.
here I am, 20 something years later, hearing it for the first time, and I'm just floored. I'm like, awesome. So now, and the funny thing is that song has been a song that I wanted to play since before I started the band, right?
Yeah.
I always wanted to play that song, and then they beat me to the punch, and I was like, Smash Mouth. The entire time, 20 something years, I'm like, oh, Smash Mouth. And then someone's like, his horn section is on the Smash Mouth. I'm like, God damn
That
it.
is awesome. All right, we appreciate your time, Curtis. Thank you very much. Stay on real quick. We're going to ask you a question after that's not going to be recorded. So I want to thank you for everything. Say goodbye and best of luck to you. Hold on.
Oh, farewell. I'll be saying goodnight.
Hello, Skankers. Jose here, aka Skanky Force. Will you like to win a free ska box? It's as easy as following Ska Box Rocks and Stiff Dog Records on Instagram and Facebook. And subscribe to Ska History Hour on YouTube and comment Ska Box Rocks in any video to enter. Good luck!